One of my favorite parts of homeschooling is definitely the read alouds, and this year was no exception.
I'm Ryan, Christ-following wife and stay-at-home mom to 4 sweet boys. I'm growing and learning how to glorify Christ as a wife, mom, homemaker, and teacher, so come and grow and learn with me. I am Mama on Mission.
So I'm going to share with you our top 5 read alouds for this year.
This is a collaboration hosted by my friend Katie over at Life in the Mundane. She is a wealth of homeschool knowledge as a second-generation homeschooler and a homeschool mom to 6 kids herself, so be sure to check out her channel for all things homeschool resources. But also make sure to check out the playlist down below where you will see lots of other mamas and their read aloud recommendations, likes and dislikes for the 2022-2023 homeschool year.
So this year, since we use Sonlight Level D for our core, which is history, Bible, and literature, we did not really pick out any of our read alouds, for the exception of a couple audiobooks. And so those we would listen to in the car, or my boys would listen to them on the iPad before bed. And so most of the books that you're going to hear on this list are from the Sonlight Level D, but we still enjoyed them nonetheless. Now this summer we do plan on getting into a few books of our choice, but we're going to finish up our Sonlight first. So the first thing I'm going to share with you are from Sonlight Level D, and they are in any particular order. They are just the 3 that were my favorite, and I would say my children's favorite as well. And that is, first of all, Tolliver's Secret. This one is by Esther Wood Brady, and this is about a shy 10-year-old named Ellen Tolliver, I believe was her name, and she is real timid and real soft-spoken, and her grandpa is who she lives with, and they are overtaken by the British during the Revolution, and she has a mission to deliver a secret message across enemy lines, and she has to kind of find her voice and find her courage, and that's kind of a theme among the books that we read this year, was bravery and courage and fighting against odds, right? Which is a lot of what makes a story good anyway. But we really like this one. There was a lot of cliffhangers. There was a lot of, don't stop, I don't want to stop yet. But we probably could have read that in a day had it been my kids' choice, but they were really invested in that one. It's a very easy read, a very quick read, but we really enjoyed it. Another one we enjoyed was The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth George Spear. And this was about a girl who is living a wealthy life in the Caribbean, who then has to come and live in Puritan New England, and she befriends a witch, not really a witch, but think Salem witch trials type stuff. There's not darkness and magic and all that in this book, but there is a lot about, adjusting expectation. There's a lot about what we grow up with thinking is right or wrong and what is truly right and wrong. A lot about testing friendships, and again, bravery, standing up for what is right. So there was a lot of good in that story as well. There was a slight love story, which kind of made my boys roll their eyes, but it was fine. And then finally, we loved Carry On, Mr Bowditch. I would say that this might have been my favorite all year. I'm not quite sure, but it's pretty close. And that is by John Lee Latham or Jean Lee. I don't know, it's one of the two. And that our main character was an indentured servant. So he had to serve, I can't remember how many years, as a poor apprentice. And he became really infatuated with navigation. And he had to sail by ash breeze, as they say. And he had to basically take the long way around. And he still made much of himself. He really changed navigation as we know it today. And there's a lot of sad parts in this story, but it was really, really a good story about grit and determination and not giving up when things get hard and when things get sad. But it was really, really good and inspiring. And the last I'm going to share with you, one of them is something that I'm pretty sure I've recommended before, and if you haven't heard of it in the homeschool community, I don't know how, but that is the Green Ember series. We read this through our co-op this year, actually. It was not my boy's first time reading this. It's by S.D. Smith, and it's a story about rabbits, and but it's very like fantasy, lots of adventure, lots of bravery, lots of family ties, lots of good versus evil, all of that stuff that makes a great story. But it's not just a boy story, right? It's boys and girls both enjoy this story. My boys loved it, even rereading it. There are definitely a lot of underlying Christian themes in that series. And so it's one of those that like you get sucked into, but it's like feeding your spirit at the same time. Highly, highly recommend that series. And then this last book I'm going to recommend, I've actually never read it. I did not read it aloud. My boys are finishing it up right now, listening to it on audiobook, but it is The Winter King by Christine Cohen. My boys are obsessed with this book right now. I let them listen to a book for 15 minutes before bed just to kind of like quiet their minds down. And I find them asking for longer time on this book, and they usually don't do that. This book is put out by Canon Press, actually by Cannonball, but by Canon Press. And anything put out by them, I would recommend. But from what I can tell, it's a fantasy book. It is a village that's trapped in winter because of a tyrannical king or god, something like that. Obviously very fantasy. But there is a girl who is fatherless, and there's rumors spreading that her family is cursed, and she has to kind of break the rules and has to kind of decide what she's going to do to help save her family and help them make it through the winter. And then she finds out some secrets, and that's about all I know about it. Is what my boys have told me, what I've read online. But I know that it's a good, morally well-written book. But my 9 and 12-year-old are obsessed with it right now. So it's at least worth looking into. So we read some really great books this year, especially those Revolution era books. But I am looking forward to kind of picking out some stuff ourselves this summer. We take a pretty short summer, so we're not going to have much of a break, but I hope to get into at least a couple books this summer of our choosing. I haven't decided what those are yet, but I will let you know in a future video once I do decide. Let me know down below, what have you read aloud this year that has been really, really good? And thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.